The suit felt wrong on me. Not the fabric. The fabric was fine, rented for the night, pressed and clean. It was the way Sophia looked at me when I walked in wearing it, like she was checking a box on a list she'd never show me. "You look nice," she said, straightening my collar. "Just remember what we talked about." "I remember," I said. Smile, nod, "Don't talk too much about work." "That's not what I said." "It's close enough." She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Sophia's laugh used to be the first thing I loved about her. Now it felt like a door closing softly so no one would hear it. The ballroom was full by 7. Roses on every table, a string quartet in the corner, Mrs. Reyes moving through the crowd like she owned it, introducing Sophia to people whose names I forgot the moment I heard them. My own family stood near the back, and I was grateful no one here knew who they really were. Ryan. Daniel found me by the bar, a glass of champagne in his hand. He wasn't drinking. My brother never drank at events like this. Too busy watching everything. "You good?" asked me at the end of the night. "That bad?" "I don't know yet." Grace appeared beside him, introduced to the room as a family friend, which was true in the smallest, most technical sense. "She's already asked 3 people if you own a car," Grace said quietly. "I told her you take the bus." "Thank you for that." "You're welcome. Also, I hate this." "I know." Sophia found me again near the dessert table, her hand tight around my arm. "Chairman Bennett is here." "Who?" "My boss. I told you about him. He runs half the accounts I manage, and he wasn't supposed to come tonight. But he's here, and he's walking this way, and Ryan." She stopped, chewing the inside of her cheek the way she did when she was building up to something she didn't want to say. "Sophia." "What?" "I need you to be my driver tonight." The words landed somewhere behind my ribs. "You're what?" "Just for a few minutes. If he asks, you drove me here, that's it. You're not my fiancée, you're—" She glanced past me, then lowered her voice further. "He thinks I'm dating someone in finance. I may have let him think that. It's a whole thing. I'll explain later. Just please, for me, just tonight." "Sophia." "Please, Ryan. Please. It's my career. You understand, right? You understand what this means for me." I looked at her hand still gripping my arm, at her mother watching us from across the room with an expression that wasn't surprise, only impatience, like she was waiting for me to fail some test she'd already graded. "Okay," I said. Relief broke over her face so fast, it almost looked like joy. "Thank you. Thank you. I owe you. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Just tell me when he's close." She squeezed my hand once, quickly, and disappeared into the crowd, already rehearsing the smile she'd wear for him. I stood by the wall after that, alone, watching my own engagement party from the outside. Tyler drifted over, Sophia's younger brother, 16, and already sharper than half the adults in the room. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine. You don't look fine." "I'm working on it." He glanced towards Sophia, laughing too loudly at something Bennett had said, her hand resting on the older man's arm the exact same way it had rested on mine 10 minutes ago. "She does this," Tyler said. "Not just with you. With everyone. She's been doing it since Dad left. Mom taught her that looking rich is the same as being safe." That's a lot of insight for 16. I pay attention. He shrugged. "You're the first guy she's brought home who didn't seem impressed by any of it. I like that about you." "Liked." Past tense. He didn't answer that. He didn't have to. Olivia, my mother, drifted past us with a plate she wasn't eating from, close enough to speak without turning her head. "How long are you going to let this go on, Ryan?" "Mom, not now. I'm only asking." "I know what you're asking. She introduced you to a room full of strangers as her driver. At your own engagement party." Her voice stayed low, controlled, the same voice she used in boardrooms when she already knew she'd won an argument. "I raised you better than to stand quietly for that. You raised me to finish what I start. There's a difference between finishing something and disappearing inside it." She touched my arm once, briefly, the way she used to when I was small and skin to knee. "You don't owe her your name, Ryan. Not yet. Not until she's earned it." "I know. Do you?" I didn't answer. She didn't push. That was the thing about my mother. She planted the seed and walked away, trusting it would grow on its own time. Across the room, Bennett laughed at something, and Sophia's eyes found mine for half a second. Not an apology, just a check, making sure I was still standing where she'd left me, still playing the part. I thought about the office 30 floors above the city, the one with my name etched into the glass door, the one none of these people knew existed. I thought about the year I'd spent carrying boxes and driving delivery routes just to find out if she'd love the version of me that didn't come with a company attached. I had my answer already. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. Ryan. Sophia's voice, calling me back like I was exactly what she'd told him I was. I straightened my rented jacket, took one slow breath, and walked toward her anyway, into the role she'd built for me, one more time. The rain started around 9, thin and cold, the kind that soaks through a rented jacket faster than it should. I stood by the car anyway, because that's where drivers stand, and for tonight, that's what I was. Through the ballroom windows, I could see Sophia laughing at something Bennett said, tilting her head the exact way she used to tilt it at me, back when I was the only man in the room worth impressing. The side door opened. Tyler slipped out with 2 paper cups, steam rising off both of them. "You're going to catch a cold," he said, handing me one. "I'm fine, really. You keep saying that word like it's supposed to mean something." I took the coffee. It was too sweet, the way 16-year-olds always make it, but I didn't say anything. "Thanks. She doesn't know you're out here freezing, you know? She thinks you're just waiting, like a service. Maybe I am, tonight. That's not funny." I wasn't trying to be funny. Tyler leaned against the car beside me, watching the same window I was watching. My mom used to make my dad wait outside restaurants when his card got declined. Told the hostess he was parking. He never was. He shrugged, too casual for what he'd just said. "Guess it runs in the family. You shouldn't have to know things like that. I know a lot of things that I shouldn't." He glanced at me. "You're not what she says you are, right? The whole finance guy thing." "No, didn't think so. You don't dress like someone trying to look poor. You dress like someone who doesn't think about it at all." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Daniel's name on the screen. I stepped a few feet away, keeping my voice low. "Tell me you're not calling to remind me." "I'm calling to remind you," Daniel said. "Board meetings at 9 tomorrow. The Whitfield merger vote. You need to be Ryan Cole tomorrow, not whoever you're being tonight." "I know what time it is." "Do you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you look like a man who forgot he owns the building he's not allowed to mention." "She doesn't know, Daniel. That's my point." His voice softened, just slightly. "A year, Ryan. A full year of bus routes and delivery shifts and rented apartments. And she still doesn't know the first real thing about you. Doesn't that tell you something?" "It tells me I still don't have my answer." "I think you do. You're just scared of what it costs you to say it out loud." I didn't argue with that, because he wasn't wrong. "I'll see you at 9, I said, and hung up before he could say anything else. Tyler was still watching me when I turned back. "Everything okay?" "Work thing. Delivery work doesn't usually get calls at 9 at night about board meetings, does it?" I looked at him. "Sharp kid. Too sharp for 16. It's complicated. Everything with you too is complicated." He sipped his coffee, quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead. Why'd you fall for her in the first place?" "If you don't mind me asking." I thought about it, watching the rain streak down the ballroom glass. She laughed at something stupid I said at a coffee shop. Real laugh, not the one she uses now. I liked how she argued about everything, like she actually believed the world owed her honesty. I paused. First time I brought her to meet my coworkers, though, she introduced me as someone she was figuring things out with. Not boyfriend. Not anything. Just figuring things out. That should have told you something. It did. I just didn't want to hear it yet. There was another time, early on, when I picked her up from a work dinner in the delivery van because my car was in the shop. She made me park 2 blocks away and walk the rest herself, heels and all, in the middle of winter, so no one would see which vehicle I stepped out of. That's cold. Literally, and the other way. I told myself it was just practical. Optics for her career, I said. I believed it for months. Did she ever apologize for it? She bought me a coat instead. Said it looked more put together. I wore it because I didn't want to make it a fight. And now I'm standing in the rain holding coffee a 16-year-old made too sweet. Waiting for my fiancée to finish charming a man she's terrified will find out the truth before I decide to tell it myself. Tyler almost smiled. When you put it like that, it sounds insane. It is insane. So why are you still out here? I looked back at the window, at Sophia's hand resting on Bennett's arm, at the version of her that only came out for people she thought mattered. Because I need to see how far she'll let this go before I decide what I'm willing to forgive. Tyler didn't say anything else. He just stood there with me in the rain, Two people who understood the same woman better than she understood herself. Waiting for a party that neither of us really belonged to. Cups going cold in our hands while the window kept glowing warm and golden without us. The board meeting ran long, mostly because Marcus kept flagging clauses in the Whitfield contract that made Daniel nervous. "Whitfield's fine," Daniel said, tapping his pen against the table. "Reyes Consulting handles their compliance. They're thorough." I looked up from my copy of the merger agreement. "Reyes Consulting?" "The firm handling due diligence for Whitfield's side," Marcus said. "Small outfit, good reputation." "What?" "No reason." But there was a reason, and it landed in my stomach like a stone dropping through water. Sophia worked for a firm by that name. I'd seen the badge clipped to her blazer 100 times and never once connected it to the deal sitting in front of me. "Ryan." Daniel's voice. "Careful now. What is it? What's the name of their point contact?" Marcus flipped a page. "Sophia Reyes. Account lead." The room went quiet in the way rooms go quiet when everyone realizes something at the same time and no one wants to say it first. "That's her," I said. "That's my Sophia." Daniel set his pen down slowly. "The merger closing ceremony is this afternoon. Whitfield's office. Full staff attendance, Ryan. As chairman, you're expected to be there." "She doesn't know," I said. "She has no idea I run this company." "She's about to find out in front of her entire office," Marcus said. "That's not a small thing." I stood up, walked to the window, looked down at the city I'd spent a year pretending not to own. "Cancel it." "I can't cancel a merger closing because your love life is complicated," Daniel said. "This has been in motion for 8 months. Then let me handle the announcement." "Not you." "Not Marcus." "Me." Daniel studied me for a long moment. "You want to walk in there yourself. I need to see her face when she realizes." By 2 o'clock, I stood outside the Whitfield boardroom in the suit I actually owned, the one that fit like it was made for me, because it was. Grace waited beside me with a folder of closing documents. "Nervous?" she asked. "No. You're lying." "A little." "For what it's worth," Grace said, "I think you're doing this the right way. You could have just told her over the phone last night. Ended it quiet, no audience." I thought about it. "So why didn't you?" "Because she needed to see what it costs to be ashamed of someone in front of the wrong people. I spent a year learning what it feels like from the outside. Seemed fair she got a taste too." "That's not revenge talking?" "Maybe a little of that too. I'm not a saint, Grace. No one asked you to be." She handed me the folder. "Just remember, whatever happens in there, you still have a merger to close. Don't let this become the only thing people remember about today." "Understood," I said. Through the glass doors, I could see the room filling up. Bennett near the front, adjusting his tie. Sophia beside him, laughing at something, her hand doing that same practice gesture on his arm that I'd watched from the rain 2 nights ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. "Chairman of Coal Industries is coming to close the merger today. This is huge for me. Wish me luck." I stared at the words for a long moment before typing back. "You've got this." She had no idea how true that was, or how untrue. An assistant stepped through the doors first. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chairman Ryan Cole of Coal Industries." I walked in. The room turned toward me the way rooms do for someone with a title, polite applause rising automatically before anyone had really looked. Then Sophia looked. Her face didn't change all at once. First confusion, like she was trying to place a familiar stranger in the wrong context. Then her eyes moved to my suit, to the way Grace fell into step half a pace behind me, to the way Daniel nodded at me from across the room like we'd built something together. "Ryan." Her voice cracked on the single syllable. Bennett turned, following her gaze, and his expression shifted from confusion to something closer to horror. "You know Chairman Cole?" "He's..." Sophia's mouth opened and closed. "I'm her fiancée," I said, loud enough for the room to hear, calm enough that no one could mistake it for a joke. "Though I understand some of you may have met me a different way. 2 nights ago, actually. I was her driver." A ripple went through the room, whispers overlapping, someone near the back letting out a short, surprised laugh they quickly swallowed. Bennett's face went pale. "Your driver?" "That's what she told everyone at our engagement party, yes." I kept my voice even, businesslike, the tone I used when I wanted a room to understand exactly how serious I was. I found it interesting information to sit with these past 2 days. "Ryan, please." Sophia's voice dropped, urgent, quiet, meant only for me even though everyone could hear it. Not here. Not like this. You didn't seem to mind doing it not like this, in front of your mother and half our guests. That was different. I panicked. I didn't think. You didn't think I owned the company you've been trying to impress for 8 months. I looked at Bennett. Is that a fair summary? Bennett said nothing. He didn't need to. I'd like to proceed with the closing, I said, turning to Marcus and Daniel, my voice shifting back into something professional, something that belonged in this room. The merger terms are sound. Reyes Consulting's due diligence work has been thorough. I glanced once more at Sophia. I have no complaints about the work. Only the woman who did it. Someone near the front cleared their throat, uncomfortable, unsure whether to laugh or look away. Sophia stood frozen at the center of the silence she'd spent 2 years building around herself. The exact silence she'd asked me to stand in outside her own engagement party. Except now everyone in the room could see her standing in it too. Shall we begin? I asked Marcus. Yes, sir, he said, and the meeting moved forward around Sophia like water around a stone that had suddenly stopped fitting the riverbed it used to belong in. I didn't look at her again for the rest of the hour. I didn't need to. I already had my answer, and for the first time since the engagement party, saying it out loud didn't feel impossible at all anymore. The closing ceremony ended an hour later, papers signed, hands shaken, cameras flashing for the press photo. I stood beside Daniel and Marcus, smiling for people I'd never see again, while Sophia stood near the back, arms crossed, holding herself together by force. Bennett approached her once the crowd thinned, his voice pitched low but not low enough. You let me believe things, Sophia. I didn't lie to you. You let me think you were single. He glanced at me across the room, then back at her. I have a reputation to think about. I can't be seen near this. Robert, please, it's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. He straightened his jacket, the same gesture Sophia made 100 times a party. I'll have someone else handle the account going forward. He walked away without looking back. Sophia stood there for a moment, absorbing that loss the way people absorb weather, something she couldn't control and hadn't seen coming. Daniel stepped up to the small cluster of remaining staff, raising his voice just enough to carry. Before everyone leaves, I think it's only fair you all know something. Ryan spent the last year working delivery routes and warehouse shifts under a different name. Grace here was his assistant the whole time, keeping his cover. It wasn't about the merger. It was a test, for someone he loved, to see if she'd love him without the company attached. Grace nodded beside him. I personally watched him carry boxes in the rain for a woman who wouldn't admit she knew him in public. I have the timesheets if anyone wants proof. A few people laughed, awkward, uncertain whether it was appropriate. Sophia's face had gone the color of paper. That's not fair, she said. You're making me sound like a monster in front of my whole office. I didn't do that, I said. You did that, 2 nights ago, at our own engagement party. My mother appeared then, having slipped in sometime during the closing ceremony, still dressed for the office in her sharp gray suit. She walked straight to Sophia, ignoring everyone else in the room. I want you to know something, Olivia said. I never once told my son you weren't good enough. I let him find that out himself. But I want you to hear this from me directly, since you'll remember it longer coming from his mother than from him. She paused. You had a good man standing beside you for a year, and you spent every day of it deciding whether he was worth claiming out loud. That's not love. That's an audition you kept failing him for. Mrs. Cole, please. I'm not finished. Whatever you decide to say to him next, make sure it's honest. He's had enough of the other thing. She walked away, leaving Sophia standing in the wreckage of a room that had watched her entire performance collapse in under an hour. Sophia found me near the elevators 20 minutes later, her makeup smudged at the corners of her eyes, the practiced version of herself finally gone. Can we talk? Please. Not here. Just for a minute. I followed her into an empty conference room. She shut the door, leaned against it like she needed it to stay standing. I always knew there was something different about you, she said. The way you carried yourself, even in that uniform. I told myself I was protecting us both, keeping things quiet until the timing was right. You don't have to do that. Do what? Rewrite it so it sounds better. She flinched, but didn't argue. You're right. I didn't know. I had no idea, and I let myself be ashamed of you anyway. And I hate that about myself more than you could possibly hate it right now. Then why did you do it? She was quiet, arms wrapped around herself. My mother lost everything when I was 12. My dad walked out with the savings account, and left us with the mortgage. I remember the exact sound of the electricity shutting off, the hum stopping in the middle of the night. My mom used to say, over and over, "Marry up, Sophia. Never let a man make you small again like your father did." Her voice cracked. I built my whole life around not being that scared 12-year-old again. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you. I only saw what you might cost me if you weren't enough. I was never going to be not enough, Sophia. You just never gave yourself the chance to find that out. I know. I know that now. She wiped her eyes, smearing more makeup across her cheek. Is there anything I can say that fixes this? I don't know. Do you still love me? Even a little? Or did today kill all of it? I don't know that either. I loved a version of you that argued with waiters about wrong orders and stayed up until 3 reading terrible mystery novels out loud, so I'd fall asleep laughing. I don't know how much of her is still in the room right now. She's here. I promise. I just buried her under a version of myself I thought I needed to survive. Survive what, Sophia? I never once threatened you. I never made you feel small. No, you didn't. My own fear did that, long before you ever showed up. She pressed her palms against her eyes. I watched my mother apologize for existing every time she couldn't afford something. I told myself I'd never be her. Then I became someone who couldn't afford to be seen loving a man who carried boxes for a living. And I turned into exactly what I swore I'd never be. I thought about the rain, about Tyler's coffee gone cold in my hands, about my mother's voice telling her the truth I hadn't been ready to say myself. I don't know yet, I said, but I know it isn't going to be tonight. I left her standing in the conference room, the door closing quietly behind me. And for the first time in a year, I walked out of a room as exactly who I was, with nothing left to hide from anyone. 3 days after the merger closing, Sophia called me 11 times before I finally picked up. I've been thinking, she said, before I could speak. Maybe we take some time. Not in things, just pause. Figure out what this means for both of us. I already know what it means for me. Ryan, don't. Please don't decide this over the phone. I'm not deciding it over the phone. I decided it in that conference room, watching you explain yourself instead of just being sorry. I was sorry. I am sorry. You were sorry you got caught. That's different from sorry you did it. She went quiet for a moment. So that's it. A year together, gone, because of one bad night. It wasn't one bad night, Sophia. It was a pattern I kept excusing because I loved the good parts of you enough to ignore the rest. The rain outside your office. The van you made me park 2 blocks away. The driver comment at our own engagement party. That's not one mistake. That's a habit. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I don't need you to say anything else. I need you to understand why I'm ending it. I took a breath. Shame isn't love, Sophia. Whatever you felt for me, part of it always came with a condition, and I deserve someone who doesn't need permission to be proud of me. I can change. Give me a chance to prove it. Maybe you can change. I hope you do, honestly. But I'm not going to be the person you practice on while you figure that out. She didn't argue after that. Just a long silence, then a quiet, okay. And the call ended. I heard about the rest of it secondhand, mostly from Marcus, who kept tabs on Whitfield's staffing for unrelated reasons. Bennett pulled Reyes Consulting off every account he controls. Marcus told me over coffee 2 weeks later. Word is he told the partners she used questionable judgment mixing personal relationships with client work. She's not fired exactly. Just quietly moved to nothing accounts. People are already leaving her calls unanswered. I didn't ask him to do that. I know. Nobody thinks you did. That's the thing about karma. It doesn't usually need help. You feel bad about it. A little. Mostly I feel like it was never really about her losing something. It was about me finally stopping the losing on my end. That's healthier than I expected from you, honestly. Give it time. I might still be a mess about this in a month. You're allowed to be. He set his cup down. Daniel says you turned down the follow-up meeting with Whitfield's board. Said you wanted someone else running point on the account going forward. I didn't want a reason to keep hearing her name in every quarterly update. Fair enough. Small company, small industry. You were bound to cross paths eventually anyway. I know. I'd just rather it happen on a day I'm not expecting it. Grace texted me a few days later, a photo of a now hiring sign at a coffee shop 2 blocks from my old delivery route, the place I used to grab lunch during my undercover year. Below it, one line. Thought you'd want to see who's behind the counter now. I didn't reply. I wasn't ready to turn Sophia's fall into something I watched from a distance for satisfaction. Some things you let go of without needing to see the ending play out. 2 months later, I was back at the same coffee shop, on the same street, in a suit that fit me the way it was supposed to. Emma was behind the counter, the same waitress who used to slip me an extra pastry on slow mornings when I still wore the delivery uniform and told her I couldn't afford much. "I know you," she said, squinting. "You used to come in here in that gray jacket. Always ordered the same thing. Black coffee, no sugar." "That's the one." She smiled, genuinely, the kind of smile that didn't calculate anything first. "You look different." "I am different. Sort of. Same person, just not hiding it anymore." "Hiding what?" "Long story. I'll tell you sometime, if you're free." "I'm free most mornings." She slid a cup across the counter. "This one's on the house. For old time's sake." "You don't have to do that." "I know. I want to." She shrugged. "You always tipped better than you could afford, even when you had almost nothing. That tells me something about a person." I thought about Sophia, about the year I'd spent testing love against wealth, about how the answer had been standing behind a coffee counter the whole time, asking nothing of me except honesty. "Thank you, Emma." "Anytime, driver." I laughed, the first real laugh I'd had in weeks. "Not a driver anymore." "I know," she said. "I think I always knew you were something else. I just never needed you to prove it. Most people needed a title before they treated me like I mattered. Then most people weren't paying attention to the right things." She wiped the counter, unhurried, like time wasn't something she felt pressure to spend efficiently. "You want to sit for a while? I've got a break in 10 minutes. "I'd like that." "Good. I'm not letting you disappear again for another year." I walked out into the morning with my coffee, no title to hide behind, and no shame waiting for me at the door, just quiet proof that some people love you exactly the way you show up, long before they ever learn your name.